Boom! We're back. And if you want to see some more no gi with yes gloves, then you've come to the right video. Make sure you watch part 1 here so you don't miss anything that we've already covered. Since we just ended with boxing in the last video, now we're moving on to an MMA round to watch. And with the start of this round, I had to start in a single leg and defend my way out of here. Of course, I decided to defend the single leg by going towards the front head and working on a guillotine. But since he had the wall behind him, this lets him put his butt to the wall. Then it's extremely hard for me to snap him down because he can settle all of his weight backwards. Watching wall wrestling is extremely boring, so let's see him pick me up. He uses the double leg to scoop me up in the air, but as soon as I land, I want to make sure I can bring my insteps in. With my insteps, I can scramble my way up, he shoots in, and I latch onto a guillotine. Of course, I had to finish it with the guillotine for all the viewers to see. After that fancy guillotine, now I'm at bottom and side control and my partner's starting to go to work. He doesn't have enough pressure against my hips, and because of this, I'm going to push off of his body, bring my legs up, and I'm bringing my legs over his face, and I get to end up on top of him in a wrestling ride position. My partner doesn't want to move, so I'm making sure to hammer him with these humongous punches, and I drag him back down towards the mat once he tries to escape. We restart as we're going into the next round, and now my goal is to escape from this guard position. You never want to be on bottom in MMA, but if you are, it's important that you monitor the hands. So I'm trying to keep my hands on top of his so he won't punch me in the face. He eventually gives me some space, so I do a really lazy stand-up hoping he's going to follow me, and he does just that, which puts me in another guillotine position. But I don't have enough leverage over the top of his head, so as I'm going towards the guillotine, he's able to pop his head out, but it put me into a position where I can use double underhooks to stand up. Then I work towards the body lock, and I want to close the distance between us. Once I have enough distance closed between the two of us, I can trip his leg and land on top of him. When you're doing jiu-jitsu, it's okay to have your hips back so you can have a really strong base, but in MMA, it's all about having your hips forward. That way you can constantly be pressuring them and they can't push you off of them. It will also make it easier to throw punches because there's less range to cover between your fist and their face. I give some more love taps to my partner, hoping that he wants to move. Unfortunately, he seems to be pretty content eating liver shots and face shots from bottom. But of course you have to understand, I'm not exactly letting him up. I always want to keep my pressure forward, and I move into the half guard position, and I continue to throw some more light punches to his body and to his head. Now what you should notice by looking at me and other people in this gym at the same time is that half guard is an extremely dominant position in MMA. Your punches might not have a ton of power from this position, but it is extremely easy to hold somebody down because you can put your hips on top of their hips and then they're pinned flat to the mat. So while you may love this position in jiu-jitsu because it's pretty safe, don't go here if MMA is your goal. Eventually my partner did explode up and he was able to get out of that position. Unfortunately for him, it brings us towards the end of this MMA round, so he didn't get to sit on top of me in any strong positions, and I don't think I saw him throw a single punch. Now if you're curious about the intensity of this session today, most of the guys in this gym have fights coming up, and if you don't have a fight coming up, then you at least understand that you're training with the MMA fighters, so this requires a harder pace. So if you think that some of the punches may look too hard from anybody in the gym, don't worry about it. This is what's required if you want to get to that next level. Everybody's on the grind. For this next round, I start on bottom and side control, but it takes me about 2 seconds to escape from side control, and now I'm working the butterfly guard. Being on bottom is not an option, however, so I go towards his leg and I start extending it, and then I set up my own heel hook. Now once I scoop up the heel hook, I don't apply any pressure and I just start spinning, but listen what he has to say. Safe to say, we can also have fun even though we're going hard during sparring. Now since I just won, he has the luxury of starting underneath me in side control, and it's going to look a bit different when I'm on top. He decides to hit a hip bump so he can go towards half guard, which is great for me because like I said earlier, half guard is the position to be in if you want to do MMA. However, I understand that lay and pray would not be that fun this early into the round, so I do move out of half guard and go back into the side control position, and once again I'm pressuring with my head. He decides to turn towards turtle, which isn't usually recommended, but it seems to work out really well for him because I get a little bit lazy as I go for back control. He gets up on his hands and feet because he wants to try and buck me off as I was riding a bit too high. I can tell I'm losing the position, so I grab onto the Kimura. I know I won't be able to finish this Kimura because this really isn't a move in my arsenal, but it allows me to scramble from this next position. Once he's free, I can scoot out, hit with an underhook, go at the back door, and now I'm back in the controlling position and I have to go a bit harder. He tries to roll for my leg, but I'm not concerned at all about this gym's footlocks. It doesn't seem like this is a big thing they like to do, so I easily fight my way out of here. The way that he attacked my leg allows me to go right into dope mount. This is where we can see my right knee goes in between his legs, which is great for delivering small punches or moving into a position such as side control or mount. I use my head and my legs to establish the crucifix on my partner. Then I give him a few pillows to the head and he decides that he has to get out of here, otherwise he's going to get TKO'd. But the way that he's coming up gives me the half Nelson. And with the half Nelson, it gives me a lot of control where I can knee you in the ribs and set up other attacks. I don't know why he took his mouthguard out, but that doesn't stop me from using my leg to grab his arm, and we're sitting in another crucifix. The only difference is that I can easily go for chokes from this position, or I can decide to go for punches. So you don't want to sit here too long, you want to bring your arm in as fast as you can. Every time he tries to get up, I drag him back towards the ground, which is my favorite way to win. Luckily for him, as I'm on his back with both hooks in and I have one arm under his neck, that round is coming to an end. So you got to see a few more MMA rounds from me, and hopefully you got to see some good grappling that you can add to your game. Now before we move on to the next round, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel if you're appreciating the video so far. I love everybody that does this for me, it really helps me out. Now for a change, you're going to see me boxing with a female. And I have to admit, her technique was actually better than some of the guys I was sparring with. The only problem is she obviously doesn't have as much power. As I'm pawing at her to see what she's going to do, she throws a body kick towards my right side. But with the Philly shell, I'm not going to have to worry about any kicks hitting me there because I'm always covered up. Pawing with your punches is a really bad habit because you're going to get clipped with an overhand right, but it's a good way to make sure you're not going to hurt your opponent at the same time. She ducks under my jab to hit me right in the body, so I make sure to return the favor by running towards her and hitting her in the body multiple times. If you're able to back your opponent up, you're definitely going to get some punches through because it's going to be hard to block everything. Just eating punches is not a very viable strategy, so it's good to see that she was throwing back even though she was getting hit. A common setup for me is to push forward the right hand so I can leap into the left hook. It didn't work this time against her, but it's a good setup I like to use so I can push them off the balance with the right hand right into the next punch. By throwing pause at her earlier, I'm now able to land the jab whenever I want. The only difference is that I have to straighten my jab all the way. It's guaranteed to hit unless she can readjust to the new timing. I change my level and I notice she overreacts to me doing this, and then I come forward that same combo mentioned earlier, hit her with a nice left hook, then I duck under her punch and I can escape this position completely unscathed. I came in with some more jabs, but this time she was able to posture back a bit and then she threw a nice uppercut to hit me right in the head. Punches that you don't need to commit to all the way, such as jabs, are always good to throw even if they don't completely hit your target. You want to make sure that you don't become a punching bag out there, so you have to throw a little bit back at them even if you're not going to make full contact. Anytime I can throw a right hand, I feel good about it, so I throw 4 left hands to set up a short right hand to go right under her arm and get her with a nice cross. She tries to retaliate, but it seems like my defense is a little awkward to her because she's not able to land any of these left hands even though I wasn't moving my feet. Because she has a high and tight guard, I have to throw a shovel jab to get in between them, but she actually catches my glove and she lands the best punches of the whole round by hitting me twice in the head with some nice left hands. I remind her that I too have a left hand by throwing some jabs, then I set up a new combo. This one's called 2 jabs into another right hand. Very fancy and creative on my part. To close out the round, I land a nice left hook into the right cross. This works out really well because the left hook pushes her into the cross and the cross comes between the gloves. I'm also coming forward at the same time, so it has extra power. This concludes the round you're going to see between us, but actually she did pretty well. So that brings us to the end of the video where we had both MMA and boxing rounds. If you appreciate the video, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you want to see more videos like this from me in the future, let me know because I love making them so long as everybody likes to watch them. But before you go, if you want to look extremely stylish doing jiu-jitsu or other sports, make sure to check out xmartial.com from my link in the description below so you can get awesome gear like I have and you can use promotion code Tyler10 to save extra money.